After all, there's no other pair of Czech brothers who cruise and swing so successfully in tight slacks.
We are two wild and crazy guys.
Hello, everyone. We're back. And I don't know why, but I'm going to talk about some records that I bought. Call me crazy, but that's what I'm going to do. The reason why I'm talking about this particular batch of records is because they were from a record store in Charlotte that I've never been to before. And I just thought it'd be cool to kind of put a little bit of a spotlight on it. It's called the Poets Vault. There's an antique store, really big. It's more like it's not really an antique store per se. It's just it's a giant antique mall where all of these vendors kind of like, set up shop in, right? It's one of those. And it's called the Sleepy Poet. They moved locations. And then when they moved locations, what they did was they split off a section for just a record store that's called the Poets Vault. Well, the whole reason why I decided to go to the Poets Vault was there was one Record Store Day album that I wanted. And I know that they started stocking some RSD stuff. So I went there to see if maybe I could find it. Now, actually, there were two, but one I had already decided I'm not buying because it was just way too expensive. And I'm hoping that maybe it'll pop back up later. The one that I did want and they had was this one, and it's the Osmium. It's deluxe version of Osmium by Parliament. Now this one was reissued by Demon, and Demon has reissued this record before, but I don't think in this 2LP set. But anyway, the biggest reason why I wanted it is it includes some of the singles that weren't a part of the actual album release. One of those singles being Coming Out of the Rain. You see it down on the bottom there. Coming Out of the Rain is one of my favorite Parliament songs of all time. And it's, if you try to buy the 45, you can look it up. It's pricey. So that was the big selling point for me on this, was to get this because of that, but also just to add another Parliament record to the collection. Yeah. Now, while I was in there, I found another RSD release, but this was from last year, Black Friday of last year, I believe. And it's the I'm not removing sleeves today, guys. Sorry. The debut album by the Bottle Rockets. This is an alt country classic, in my opinion. This one and the next one, the Brooklyn Side. The Brooklyn Side was just put out for this Record Store Day. That was the other record that I really wanted, but talked myself out of it because of the price. It was like over $50. But because this was in there and it was a decent price, I think it was only like $25, I decided to grab it. It was brand new. And so, yeah, was happy to find this. So, of course, in any record store that I've never been to before, I always hit up the R&B section, the R&B soul section. And this one I was really happy to get. You Better Move On by Arthur Alexander. This was his first one. It came out in 1962. This is the mono press of it, and it's on Dot Records. Arthur Alexander is from the Muscle Shoals area, Sheffield, Alabama, I believe. The big hit on here is You Better Move On, and the self-titled track, and it was produced by Rick Hall. Arthur Alexander is a pretty important figure to the Muscle Shoals scene. He came around, this album came about a little bit before you really kind of defined the music that was making there as the Muscle Shoals sound, but he was very influential on it, for sure. The cool thing about Arthur Alexander is that a lot of his music is just as influenced by kind of like the rock at the time, the rock music that was coming up in the late 50s, as well as like country music. You know, there's definitely some influence of country, and you see, you know, funny how time slips away on there. Arthur Alexander would go on to release another solo album later in the 70s. I believe it's self-titled. I'm still missing that one, and I'd love to get my hands on it. Again, it's a 1962 copy, a mono copy, and it sounds good. I mean, it's got a little bit of surface noise, but yeah, these records are like tanks, man. Like, you know, those early 60s records. Now, the biggest find for me at the Poet's Vault was this one. Rolf and Florian, Kraftwerk. This is the 1975 press. Now, this was labeled VG and had a price sticker of $40 on it. And I never see this record in the bins anywhere. I know that, I think Dave came across one locally, probably at Noble Records. But I normally never see this. And I, you know, definitely assume it was VG because of the cut corner. But then also when you see that, you assume that the vinyl is that way too. But I thought, hey, I'll take a chance on it for that price. Brought it home, spun it through the record doctor in the vacuum, and put it on, and it sounds fantastic. It is a VG Plus copy. Really happy to find this one. Yeah, and this, you know, stepping in a new record store and you find things like this, I mean, it makes it worth it all the time just to kind of, you know, check them out, right? Whew. Guys, you're not going to know it by the time I'm done editing this video, but I have been talking a lot. And I have been repeating things because I fucked them up the first time I said them. Anyway, hope everybody's doing well. Talk to you later. All right, bye.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.